The State of Origin period is probably the most exciting part of the regular season. It's the three fiercest and highest quality games on the rugby league calendar. We start talking about it months before the players even go into Origin camp. Aside from the grand final, it's our one event of the year that non-NRL fans will sit down and watch. Genuinely unmissable TV. All those factors make Origin great, but the fact is you can't have the greatness of Origin without taking away from our primary competition, the NRL. The way that it's been for ages now is that across the month and a half that Origin occurs in, some teams will have bye some weeks, other teams other weeks, and the games that do take place will be generally without the Origin stars. Now that absolutely has a certain charm to it. Guys who may only play 2 or 3 NRL games in a season being able to showcase their ability to the rugby league world. But the fact is that that charm only goes so far. Sports is entertainment, and to be entertained you want to see the best players on the field. Realistically, at the moment in the NRL, we don't get that for the month and a half of the Origin period. And that is a really big chunk of time. And to try and fix that problem and get their best players back on the pitch, we often see absurd cases of clubs getting their players to back up on extremely short turnarounds. When I was researching for this video, I found an instance in 2022 where front rower Junior Paulo played 44 minutes of State of Origin on Wednesday night, then was named for Parramatta and played another 40 minutes in the front row on Friday night. Seriously, like when I saw it, I thought that there was an error in the list that I was looking at. I went off Rugby League Project and onto NRL.com just to confirm what I was reading. Parramatta played Paulo because they were battling for a top 4 finish that season. But being able to give your players a safe amount of rest shouldn't be a luxury that's only afforded to the teams that are at the top of the ladder. Players shouldn't feel obligated to back up for their clubs less than 48 hours after playing one of the most grueling fixtures in the entire calendar. I have a solution, and as you will come to learn with me, my solutions tend to involve a wonderful little thing called International Rugby League. Now, it gets floated around every now and then, but I absolutely believe in having a mid-season international window. The first step is condensing Origin to 3 games in 3 weeks, including a week before the first game so that the players can train in Origin camp. You then put a pause on the NRL competition for that 4-week period, and in that time host international fixtures. Now this would be near impossible to coordinate with the English Super League, so the international fixtures would exclusively be Southern Hemisphere teams. I propose 2 separate competitions in the exact same style of the very successful Pacific Championships at the end of last season. Although obviously Australia can't participate because their players will be playing State of Origin. So in the top comp you would have New Zealand, Tonga and Samoa, and in the second comp you would have Cook Islands, Fiji and Papua New Guinea. Each team will play the 2 other teams in their competition for the first 3 weeks, and then in the last week you have a final for each comp, finishing just in time for the NRL season to resume again. My love for International Rugby League is something that I'm sure I'm going to be covering a lot more in the future, but to me, it seems that whenever the international fixtures come around, we all love them. We love the pre-match war dances, the fans singing hymns as the game's playing, and really just the opportunity for the players to represent something that's bigger than themselves. But then when the fixtures are over, everyone just seems to forget how good it was. I think these fixtures will really help remind people just how good an international product we have, and how much better it was than even 5 years ago. And for those of you pointing out the number of Tongan or Samoan representatives who play State of Origin, here's a list of eligible players who are unlikely to be picked for State of Origin this season. Jarome Luai, Isaac Tongo, Taylor May, Katoni Staggs, Keon Koloamatangi, Joseph Suali'i, Spencer Leniu, and Sifa Talakai. And that's on top of just the base sides that Tonga and Samoa have. Even withstanding Origin, they would be able to field NRL caliber sides. And I just think it would be so good to watch. And in the lower comp, we get to take more footy to Papua New Guinea and expose the talent of the emerging nations to the NRL scouts. It just makes sense to me. Now, shifting focus, I believe that this change would also see Origin itself benefit. Playing the games in a 3-week period would concentrate the excitement around it, rather than having the hype kind of float in and out in between rounds of just regular NRL. Not to mention, it will help maintain a bit of a continuation between all 3 games. No more players going back to their clubs and picking up injuries between Origin games, or being dropped due to poor club form. You're incentivized to keep the same team for all 3 games because it's all one camp. We'd have a more defined notion of who each Origin side was in every given year, as opposed to a number of players coming in and out because of how form can fluctuate over a month and a half. And then there's the benefit to the wider NRL. The first point is that the vast majority of NRL players would not be involved in rep footy during this window. So the clubs will likely send their fringe first graders to strengthen the reserve grade size during this period, while the established first graders get a mid-season break to refresh. It helps massively for players who suffered long-term injuries in the first half of the season too. Imagine if Campbell Graham were to miss a month less of NRL this year as he recovers from his sternum injury. Or if Kalen Ponga were to miss a month less as he recovers from his foot injury. That'd be a massive help to the Rabbitohs and the Knights, and help us achieve the basic goal of getting the best players on the field for the most NRL games. Literally the only counter argument that I can see to this would be that the NRL season would go for a month longer. But I think being able to sell it as a month-long break for the majority of NRL players would be enough to get organisations like the Rugby League Players Association on side with the idea. And this isn't as left field an idea as you may think it is. Soccer has a number of international breaks throughout the season just for international friendlies. Those are fixtures that don't even really mean anything. So to do it for something as meaningful as Origin is absolutely a worthy cause. And Formula 1 just has a straight up mid-season break every year where everything's halted and the drivers just get to relax, which reflects those players who won't be playing rep footy in this time. I just really think that this is something we should do. There's so many more upsides to it than downsides. So yeah, Peter V'landys, Andrew Abdo, get on it.